Hey everyone, welcome to the show, episode 60, preseason games, week 2, part 1. So we're into the second week of preseason, folks. We've had a look at the first lot of teams that have come through. Now, it's on to the second week. It's a bit more organised this round. We've had better camera views, proper commentating. So just, shout out to KO for doing that with the Amy community series. So it is a lot better now. We actually can see the players, and it's made it a lot easier to look at the games. And for the people at home, much more enjoyable to watch. Footy is officially back, folks. So we're going to start. I'll just let you know the games that we're going to start with. And for today's part 1, we're going to split it in half. So the first lot of games, that will include Carlton versus Geelong, Sydney versus GWS, Brisbane versus Gold Coast, Melbourne versus Richmond, and also Western Bulldogs versus Hawthorn. That'll round it out, and then we'll do the next lot of teams in part 2. So we're going to start with Carlton versus Geelong. Let's load up the score, folks, and we'll start with that first because the score is the most important thing. So we start with the scoreline first, and we'll talk about the game. And it was an interesting one. After Carlton backing it up, after they beat the reigning premiers, they got to play also the grand finalists who lost in the grand final, Geelong. So two pretty decent teams the Blues have had to face up against. And let's get to that scoreline. After Geelong played Hawthorn last week and lost. So Carlton, 13 goals, 86 to Geelong, 11 goals, 571. The Blues are on a roll. They've just won the second preseason games, folks. This team, they're looking all right. They're looking better this year, the Blues. It is preseason. It is hard to judge. But there's no doubt they beat the reigning premiers. They beat the grand finalists from last year in preseason. It's always good to get off to a win and just get your team and your fans up and about. Bit of buzz for this year. So let's talk about the goals. Carlton's goals. So Kemp with 2, Hollands with 2, Hayward with 2, Evans, Smith, Moyer, Walsh, Chesser, Ollie Hollands, and Byrne and Cripps, all single goals apiece. Geelong, Martin 3, Stevens, Oliver Henry, Holmes, Dangerfield, Nevitt, Polkinghorne, Manahan, and O'Connor, single goals apiece. For Carlton's best, Smith, Walsh, Cripps, Ollie Hollands, Williams, Elijah Hollands. Geelong, their best was Holmes, Humphreys, Bronan, Atkins, Martin, Clark. Injuries, Shannon Neal had a knee knock in the ruck, knee on knee, essentially running in like that, bang, clash. I did see reports during the week that he pulled up okay, and I don't think there's going to be any surgery or any issues like that. And we'll talk about the first quarter. So the first quarter, Carlton kicked 4 goals, 1 to Geelong's 1 goal, 2. So a blistering start by Carlton. And that started with, to me, Jager Smith and Walsh were the best on field, essentially, I thought. Sam Walsh, definitely looking back into, arguably he's a career form almost. He's just slotting in very nicely. He's backed it up with another good game, copping a big hit throughout the game. Went off for a little bit, but I believe he come back on and played through it. So they're getting run in his legs. He still didn't come. He's not injured. He still played it out. And that's the most important thing after having a few injuries. He's back to the Sam Walsh that we know best. So Jager Smith, he did have also throughout the game. So, I'll just quickly do the scoreline first. So at halftime, it was 4 goals, 5 So Carlton didn't kick a goal in the second quarter, but missed a few shots. To 3 goals, 4 for Geelong. So they slotted it back a bit. But then Carlton ended up going into the third term, kicking 4 goals extra to only Geelong. Or Geelong kicked 3 on top of that. So they ended up, Carlton was 8 goals, 6 to 6 goals, 5. Then they ended up going on and put on another 4 to 5 goals after that, with Geelong also doing the same, but it's the scoreline of those couple extra goals got Carlton over the line. It was a good contest. To me, Jagger Smith was best on field for the game. He finished the highest scoring player on the ground with 118 points through fantasy. And that was to his 37 disposal, folks. He had 4 marks, 2 tackles, and a goal. Also Wade Dorowski, defensive player that they signed in the SSP stuff. So through the supplementary picks, he took 8 marks and also had 83 points, and can hold his spot when Jacob Wettering returns is the question. But yeah, from a Blues aspect, geez, they look good. Like, they just look quick with their half forwards, like Hayward coming in, Ainsworth just locking that ball in next to McKay, who's the big tall forward for the Blues. So they've gone with it, and also Kemp. So they've gone with a little bit of a smaller forward line, and they tend to try to lock it in. They'll use McKay as the tall target, and that's what I noticed. They tried to lock it in quite well. It made Geelong's life a bit hard getting the ball out of the defensive lineup for Geelong. They're renowned to be pretty good to get their players moving from the defensive line into the forward line. Obviously with Tom Stewart. Henry as well down back. They've got good halfbacks as well. That they just seem to struggle a little bit. So like Geelong had off their halfback, they had Mullen. Lawson Humphries was back after playing State Origin. He did a good job. Connor Sullivan, as I mentioned, Jack Henry, as well, playing down deep in defence along with Tom Stewart. So they still had a good defensive lineup. So as I could see, at times they had Moy, Smith, Ainsworth, Holland. Hayward was playing up and down on the wing or across the half forward. They also had Ollie Florent on the wing for the Blues. This is how they lined up at the start of the game, but they sort of switched between those roles. They just looked impressive from a Cats perspective. Jai Clark had another good game. For me, I thought he was quite good. He was arguably their best player last week, and he's just come out and performed even more again. At times, running with Patrick Cripps, and giving him a bit of a run. Cripps played really good. I thought Cripps was good, but he didn't have to carry all the weight this time. That's the hardest thing with Carlton. A guy like him just carrying that weight. He's carried that team on his back for a long time now, and he's a great player. So it is good to have the players around him, as I mentioned, like off the wing, or whether Jagger Smith's running through there. He's got a fully fit Walsh. It's a different lineup for the Blues, and they are playing like it. They're playing with a lot of positive energy. I've been impressed. Congrats to Michael Voss. We'll see how it goes in the real season, if it can translate. They keep it up. Yeah, Liam Reedy also has done good too. Whether they keep playing him with Mark Pitnat, they could probably keep playing another tool, especially down their forward line. They could rest Reedy down forward very easily and have Pitnat take maybe the main chunk of the ruck. Taylor Byrne. He also fresh off the last quarter goals against Brisbane in the last week's scratch match. He also put his hand up after kicking a classy goal on the run, just about to seal the contest in the final and last term. So, yeah, they've found a player there. Elijah Hollins also came back in the squad after, a pretty controversial off-season where, well, from his perspective, he hasn't been looking after himself and almost fell out of the club altogether. With them basically Carlton ripping up the contract and saying, you got to sort of come back and earn your spot. And he did. And to his credit, he had 19 touches and 2 goals. So very, very good effort from him. He was hard at the contest. I think he just adds, when he's up and about and playing good football, he's definitely good. His brother played good as well. So Sam Welsh as well, after having a lucrative long-term free agency contract at Icon Park, to finish with 29 disposals and a long goal. To me, he was the one that absolutely starred as well. Him and Jagger Smith, just like I said, not carrying a bit extra weight instead of letting Cripps carry all that club on his back, folks. But with Geelong, it was a slow start for him. Also with Neil's injury, but also their superstars like Max Holmes had 25 disposals and 1 goal. So he was arguably their best player as well, along with Dryclar. Also Lawson Humphreys had 24 disposals and 6 marks across that half back. So he worked very hard, and they had to. As I mentioned, Carlton made it very hard for them. James Werple had 21 disposals, 6 clearances. Played good. I thought had a better game than he did last week against his former club. Started off really good early, but this game he was pretty good throughout the game. One of their best midfielders. Tanner Braun had 27 disposals, 9 marks. He was pretty solid across the midfield and for the Blues. But, yeah, couldn't stop the likes of Jagger Smith, Sam Walsh, and Patrick Cripps. Yeah, Campbell Chesser also played well across that sort of position. He sort of played a bit of a utility role. Harry Dean as well played very good across the defence for the Blues. To me, he got to shut down a few players. Let me just see the lights of that were in that forward line. So it was a mixture. Yeah, it had Ollie Henry, Manahan, Close, Blitzhalfs, Neil, Polkinghorn. So he was bouncing between Blitzhalfs and Polkinghorn, although Blitzhalfs was playing across multiple different positions of the ground and wasn't very effective. It was probably one of Blitzhalfs' very average games. Adam Sard played good. There's enough run off that half back for Carlton with Elijah Hollins. Mitch McGovern played good. He just marked it across the back. I thought Young, as a tall defender, Lewis Young, I thought he did good. I thought he's copped it a bit throughout his career, but I feel like he's settled down a bit now. He's played pretty good, so I'll just make sure I go through that. I think that's covered everything pretty good. Just going through it all. Just from the injury perspective, Shannon Neal had obviously clash on his knee and a bit on the shin as well. Jeremy Cameron's quad, Bailey Smith's calf, and Graham Myers' thumb, all under fitness clouds heading into next Friday's opening round clash against the Gold Coast Suns. From Carlton's perspective, Sam Welsh did leave the field just seconds after the game began, but putting Rory's aside as he made it through the game unscathed in the end. Jacob Wadering's rib will be fit to face the Swans in 8 days. Also, Nick Haynes, Adam Chera, hamstring, and Matt Cottrell knee. will be all sidelined for the season start and the opening. So, yeah. So the Blues have still got a few stars to come back along with Geelong. Geelong need Bailey Smith. They need that run. They really do. Obviously, Jeremy Cameron as well as a key forward. But yeah, Jai Clark to me was one of Carlton's best. And how can we leave out Frankie Evans? He has kicked a long goal. In the opening turn, I thought he just is the energizer bunny for him. A former Geelong and Port Adelaide player. It's great to see him find a home at Carlton. I'm very happy for him. I do like the man. He was playing with goggles through an eye contact that he had. But yeah, that covers that game. We're going to move on to the next game, folks. I'm happy with that. And let's just get the next game up, folks. It is Sydney versus GWS over in Sydney. It's the Sydney Battle of the Bridge is what they call it. These are two teams in Sydney. I've not been a big fan of rivalry games in pre-season. I don't think you should have Gold Coast playing Brisbane. I don't think you have Port playing the Crows. And I don't think they should have GWS versus Sydney. And also, I don't think they should have Fremantle versus West Coast. It's special games that shouldn't be diminished in a pre-season. That's just a view of that one. I think the AFL have got that fixturing wrong. These guys haven't played football for 6 months and they're going to go out and play against their arch rival. They're going to be firing up. Look, it is good football to watch. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not the smartest idea from a perspective to put your arch rival in when you've not played that much football. They do go a bit harder, and that was seen in the next game when we'll talk about. But I just wanted to cover that before I started. I think it's not a good idea, and I think you need to mix it up, AFL, and save those showcase games for the real season. And when the players are fully fit, their bodies have hardened, because football's like that. You need to harden. That's why we play these games. You got to get run into the legs, and also you got to harden the body for the hits. So, just my little view on that one. But we'll get to the scoreline of this game, and then we'll talk about the goals and go through the match. So it started off with where is it? Here we are. Sydney, 14 goals, 13, 97 to Greater Western Sydney, GWS, 8 goals, 11, 59. So Sydney come out winners, 97 to 59 on the scoreline. We'll go with goals first. So Sydney, Kernow 2, Marty 2, McDonald 2, Heaney, Jordan, Sheldrick, Grundy, Cleary, Goulden, McHenry, Laddams, all single goals apiece. GWS, Stringer 3, Hogan 2, Gorowski 2, Oliver 1 single goal. The best on ground for Sydney, Blakey, Heaney, Sheldrick, Mills, Grundy, McHenry, Wicks. So GWS, best players were obviously Toby Green, Oliver, Ash, Durden, Stringer, and Royston. Injuries, Goulden did hurt an ankle. We'll go through that in a sec. Reports, Rosa Jr. was done for abusive language, which is a thing that you can get done for. Injuries, Western Sydney, Giants, no injuries. So from a scoreline aspect, Sydney got it done. Sydney are now 2-0 in the preseason. They come out and beat the Bulldogs quite easy. They probably played an understrength Bulldogs compared to the Bulldogs that played against Hawthorn. It was a much more stronger lineup, but that's not to take away from Sydney. Sydney were the better team on both of those days, and they're still the better team at the moment in the Sydney clash of the Bridge, the rival game. So Sydney took it out. So it's a bit of a interesting scoreline. Like Sydney kicked 5 goals, 3 to GWS's 1 goal, 2 in the first quarter. Angus Sheldrick was probably arguably the best on ground. He had, let's just have a look how many touches he had. He had 30 disposals, 5 tackles, and helped him score the only time of the game for 111 points in the fantasy scoring line. For those who don't know, that's very high. If you hit triple digits in the fantasy score stuff, that's pretty good. And yeah, it's about the mark. So he definitely is fitting into that midfield role quite nicely, along with Errol Goodwin, who played the first quarter and was withdrawn after a precaution after rolling his ankle. Yeah, so he broke his ankle last year. Ironically, in the same game, but this time last year. So a bit of a precaution. Briggs was a late out, but wasn't ideal as assesses the ruck. Briggs was out and also wasn't ideal for the rucks, but took enough out of the Brodie Grundy. I was playing on Madden, but sorry, it's a bit of a tongue twist, this one. But yeah, Brodie Grundy had 89 points for just 58% of game time on the field. So it's pretty good amount of stats for the ruckman there. Toby Green was probably GWS's best player in a depleted midfield, so he's gone from the half forward into the midfield. That shows you GWS is struggling. I'd rather that man be on that half forward and show the magic out there that he is. It doesn't matter where this guy plays, he's always going to be a great player. But they tend to like to use him on the forward, half forwarder in the pocket. He's more of a half forward that works hard up and down the ground and almost become a second midfielder. But they've had to throw him into the midfield. So yeah, the skipper top scored for his team with 97 fantasy points from less than 70% time on the ground. So he's still resting a bit. That's pretty good score for a guy that's only been on for X amount of time there. Harry Royston was also a good player. Strong opening round showcased that he belongs in the midfield for GWS. I thought Clayton Oliver got kicked in the hand but continued to battle through. Didn't have the impact he did last week, but still was really good across the mark. Kieran Briggs, Callum Brown, Aaron Cadman and Joe Fonnie we'll have to work it out how he's going to... They're going to have to come back into the lineup as well. Obviously, Brent Daniels and Cody Angrove missed the clash due to injury that they got last week. Opening round recruits, I thought Charlie Curnow obviously kicking the 2 goals again, Logan McDonald 2, Marty with 2. The key forwards Sydney have are just going to be hard to play on if you're another opposition team playing these teams. It's a bit like what I talked about with the Crows. Or Freo, they got 3 tall forwards. Well, Sydney has entered the chat with that. The 3 tall forwards, they're back in vogue, folks. The tall forwards, the teams that have really good tall forwards, they're kicking multiple goals. Like, you got to stop one. How are you going to stop? So this team is just highlights to me that you're going to have to play 3 tall defenders to shut down these 3 talls. Malcolm Rosa Jr. performed again to probably pinch a spot in the opening round clash. And Josh Sarong actually playing off the wing for Sydney. He looked good too. So a couple important players there. Caden Cleary booted a nice goal and seems to sort of be placing himself quite well. Joel Hamley in defence played not too bad at times. We mentioned Clayton Oliver, which is important for the Giants. Jaden Laverty, former Essendon player, also looked important for GWS back there. Just that nice mid-sized to tall defender that just tries hard. I think he'll lock in pretty good there. Nick Madden did have a tough day, just shouldering the ruck by himself. But he did good. Kieran Briggs falls, sort of had to recover from a shin knock. Has to recover from a shin knock in time to face Hawthorn, so they need him. But Nick Matten, to me, he looks a little bit like, it's ironic he was playing Grundy, but he seems to be showing similar traits to Brodie Grundy. Just needs to learn AFL footy and continue to play at that sort of level. and he'll only get better. So he's give him a full year. I think he'd be a great player. So Phoenix Gothard, Malcolm Rosa Jr., Josh Delana, Max Gorowski, Oliver Hannaford, Harrison Oliver, Jacko, and Oscar Taylor were all in there at times, but some players played across. So they're all the younger players. A mix of players from either Sydney or GWS. They all got a touch of footy. Josh Delana copped a heavy hit. Gorowski kicked 2 goals for the Giants. But yeah, also with these injuries, it's opened up opportunities for all those players I just mentioned. Heap of new faces, so they're the new faces for both the clubs. But yeah, injury hit Giants were missing 11 of their players that lined up in the elimination final last year, which they lost, unfortunately, to Hawthorn. But yeah, they also have been boosted by the recruit that they got in the off-season, Clayton Oliver, who had 19 disposals and booted 1 single goal for the day. He also, got kicked in the foot, jarred his finger, but he looked okay. Jesse Hogan did roll his ankle, finished up with 2 goals, so still, hobbled off at one stage there. Looked like it, just hopefully a standard rolled ankle from that perspective. But yeah, Tom Patley also come back into the game. Had 12 disposals, but minimum sort of effect on the game. Still coming back from injury. So yeah, really for a game that was wet, it was the key tools that stood up for the Swans, and they took out the game. They look pretty good, folks. I'm pretty happy with that. Sheldrick was the best player on the day. Chad Warner did walk back into that lineup as well after missing state origin, but yeah, was Justin McHenry. Yeah, he did okay as well, playing through the wing along with Jai Sarong. Yeah, Chad Warner sort of just did what he needed to do. He was a bit like Isaac Heaney. They had impacts in the game, but they weren't overly, didn't have the impact on the game like they normally sort of do. Just from injury perspective, Kieran Briggs, Callum Brown, Aaron Cadman, Joe Fonte, Tom Green, Josh Kelly, Darcy Jones, Toby Bedford, and Sam Taylor. So there's a lot of injuries for GWS along with Finn Callahan as well. But from Sydney's perspective, Errol Goulden, Jake Lloyd, Harry Cunningham, Taylor Adams is the most significant concerns from injury off that aspect. So maybe you won't see them along with the players I just mentioned for GWS. So also Brent Daniels and Cody Angove. So a lot of star players out for GWS, folks. I think they probably will struggle against a Hawthorn side personally. There is a lot of outs, but just don't count this team out. They give it a good crack. From Sydney's perspective, I think they're going to be a very good team this year. And I think they're going to be hard. It's going to be hard to beat. So we'll talk about them next week in the review before the games they're going to play next week. And that wraps up Sydney versus GWS. So off to the next game, folks. Brisbane and Gold Coast. This one was a tough game, folks. Another rival match that they probably shouldn't do during the preseason. Just really wanted to make that clear. I've said that before. Don't need to go on too much about it, but it's just not a good idea. So let's just get the scoreline up first. It was a very heated contest. It was goal for a fair amount of the game. So let's just bring up. So the scoreline was 19 goals, 12, 126 for Brisbane, to Gold Coast's 15, 11, 101. So, yeah, end up taking it by 25 points. Brisbane, Morris, 4 goals. Gallup, 2. McCarthy, 2. Cameron, 2. Lohman, 2. Bailey, 2. Levi Ashcroft, 2. Tunstall, McKenna, McCluggage, all single goals apiece. Lombard, 3 for Gold Coast. Walter, 2. Ugelhagen, 2. Miller, 2. Long, 2. King, Jeffrey, Humphrey, Anderson, single goals apiece. So, Brisbane's best: Zach Bailey, Morris, Neil, Reveal, Cameron, Dunkley, Wilmot. Gold Coast's best: Petrarca, Miller, Witts, Brody Ewan, Anderson, and Power. Injuries to come out of it: Lloyd hurt an ankle, McCluggage corked calf, and that rounds out the injuries there. So to me, Logan Morris just was a player that just couldn't stop. Just popped up at the right time. Kicked 4 goals. And at times didn't have much to answer him. Lockie Neal just standing up and top scoring for the game with 108 ranking points. Let me just see what touches he had. How many disposals was it in the end? So yeah, it was a bit sluggish the week before, but he did come out and perform very well. Just looking it up right now. I just need to find that perspective or what he got. Lockie Neal, 31 goals. 31 point. Total Brave Fade votes, 31 disposals. Zach Bailey was arguably the best on ground. He had 25 disposals running through the midfield and at times swapped up forward and kicked 2 goals. Bruce Reveal had 20 disposals and looked, like he may have earned his spot, and he trained hard. So it's going to be hard to get in this lineup. You're going to have to perform. The Lions also rested Harris Andrews, Dane Zorko, Darcy Fort ahead of the opening round clash against the Western Bulldogs. Oscar Allen and Ryan Lester also missed with a concussion. Cam Rayner completed a training session earlier in the day after being rested by general soreness. So yeah, a few players missing. They had Cody Kurtman rucking for the Lions. I thought he did alright. I thought Darcy Fort will come back into that lineup, but just given that young lad match experience, the Lions ruck struggled against Jared Witts, but they sort of Brisbane's good midfield just nullified those taps from Jared Witts. McCluggage had a nice goal from 50 metres out before a cork calf cut his night short. But yeah, Zach Bailey obviously to me was the best player on the field. And you could see when the game just ramped up and up that Brisbane just ran away with it. It's quite close early. Let me just look at the scoreline. So yeah, 3 goals 3 to Gold Coast, 5 goals 2. So Gold Coast got an early jump on Brisbane. And then it was pretty much split even at the break. 9 goals 5 to 9 goals 4. Just a 1 point difference going Brisbane's way at the main break. Even in the third quarter, it was 13 goals 7 to 12 goals 8. So still only like a goal apiece between them. And it was just the last quarter when Brisbane just stood up and they just powered through to go from 19 goals 12. So he kicked a few behinds and also goals, along with 15 goals 11 for Gold Coast, only managing to put on 3 goals and a couple extra points. So yeah, scoring shot wise, Brisbane worked harder. As I sort of talked about in the last game, you could see they could go up another gear against Carlton, but they just coasted a bit. And that's not Carlton. They wanted it more. But this game was interesting. They stood up that next level a bit more. And they just wanted it as well. So let me just grab up a few more little stats. Jai Farah could come under a bit of scrutiny from the match review officer for his heavy contact with Darcy Wilmot. Just clipped a bit of his head going into the bump. Look, I guess that's how they talk about the rules now, but it just grazed his chin. I mean, the rule is the rule, and just shows you that these rivalry games, they put their body on the line, they hit hard. So just from an AFL perspective, just don't put the teams having a rivalry match after they haven't played footy for 6 months. Because, generally maybe he went a little bit harder because there's more on the line when you play these sort of teams in the rivalry stuff. So just that aspect. But yeah, Gold Coast, basically their best player was Christian Petrarca. Put another showcase in for his first game for the Suns in the opening round, and proper debut for him after playing very well throughout the preseason games. Noah Anderson did play quite well, and Will Power had his moments in the midfield, also as he does down back. But yeah, Mac Andrew down the defensive lineup for Gold Coast gave away a few multiple frees. A little bit undisciplined, and just got to get that early for his system. Now he doesn't want to do that when the season comes around proper. Just from a discipline aspect, needs to just work on that. He's a good player. He doesn't want to let his team down. Collins did okay. I thought he just struggled a bit. So the key tools did struggle a bit for the Suns. But yeah, Petrarca from his aspect had 24 disposals, 9 clearances for the game. But yeah, midfield chemistry needs to be worked on. Not from his aspect, but the players around him. Hugo Hagel had a bit of a hard night, but still ended up finishing up with 2 goals. We'll get back to him in a sec. We'll just cover, Zeke Yellen did not get much of the ball early, but worked into the game and ended up finishing up with 14 touches. I think he'll start off the half-back. Zane Solaski shared ruck duties with Cody Curtin, as I mentioned him before. And also Curtin ran down Daniel Aroli in the dying seconds of an eye-catching quarter. That's how it's been worded. But yeah, big man chasing down a little fella. I thought he did pretty good. Bruce Reville, we talked about him. He's had pretty good game. 20 disposals. Looked quite good. Caden Coleman also went to the halfback role he's familiar with. His kicking was brilliant, and launched a lot of linking players off the halfback. So Brisbane just get another halfback that's absolutely a good player. How can you stop this team? Lincoln McCarthy has also thrown forward, kicking 2 goals. Is closing in on a selection after all his injuries. So shout out to you, mate. Leo Lombard was a small 4 role, but he kicked three goals, so he'll definitely not be in doubt. We've talked a bit about the injuries. Ethan Reid also had concussion, but is expected to play Geelong in the opening round. Oscar Allen, Ryan Lester, same boat. Luke Lloyd hobbled off with ankle injury during the first quarter. Yeah, I've mentioned all the other players through injury or who have been rested. I'm just looking at the stats, folks. I'm pretty happy with that. Brisbane were just too good. They stood up when the match was on hand. Jeb Walters as well had a heavy contest clash as well that may find himself in trouble after a late bump on Zane Solaski. So he did just get him high. And so those couple of hits there. It was pretty heated. Like, it got going throughout the game. Like, the heat picked up. Brisbane just too good. They stood up. The Suns are still getting used to the new midfield. They didn't have they had a few players out. Whether they're going to be back for it or not. Yeah, that covers it pretty good. We'll review them during the week, and we'll see how they go for the teams that they're going to be playing throughout the week. But to me, Dunkley also played good, just doesn't get enough recognition. Charlie Cameron as well played really well. Had enough touches. They're just all over the ground. So Neil, Charlie Cameron, Levi Ashcroft, Dunkley all hit triple digits in the fantasy. Darcy Wilmot basically did. He got 99. So a mixture of all types of players there. Wilmot off the halfback, Dunkley through the guts, Ashcroft through the middle, all up forward. Charlie Cameron even up forward, racking up the disposals. And just a straight up performance by Lachie Neale. So, and that's not even to add in Zach Bailey, who was actually probably the most impactful player on the ground. So that's why they won the game, folks. They're just too good. So, yeah, we'll go on to the next game now. Just give us 1 second, folks. We'll just bring that up. Melbourne and Richmond. It ended up being a delayed game in the end. Lightning end up finishing the match early, so we got a little bit to work with here, but it's still a game that sort of had to be abandoned after the Lightning delays. Lightning delays as Lightning striked twice, so they had to forfeit the match in the end. We'll just quickly talk about the score. Just get the scoreline up. Sorry, folks. So it ended up being Melbourne walking away as the winners. They went 12 goals, 678 to Richmond's 6 goals, 743. Van Ruan for Melbourne kicked 3. Langford, Gawn, Chandler, Sharp, Thielsthorpe, Laurie, Windsor, Fritsch, Latrell Pickett, all single goals apiece. Lynch made a return for Richmond, kicking 2. Rioli, Mansell, Hopper, Ralph Smith, single goals apiece. The best on ground was Windsor. Windsor was really good for Melbourne. Gawn in the ruck, first game back after state origin. Rivers, Van Ruan, Cozzy Pickett, still all in Melbourne's best. Richmond's best, McAlfee, Triano, Laylaw, Hopper, Rioli. Kentfield got injured early on. He hit his head and knee, falling awkwardly. So that took the centre forward out of the game for Melbourne, and also a second ruck position. Also, Cummings went off with a bad shoulder. To be seen to see how he goes with that. As I mentioned, the best on ground for that game, Caleb Windsor, showed that he may be the man to step up in the D's midfield. The number 1 pick from the 2023 draft was electric and attended a lot of centre bounces. He was on 56 fantasy points when the game was abandoned early in the second half, so he could have stepped up and hit the triple digits. Jack Steele also showed why he's earning his spot at the D's after being traded from St Kilda to Melbourne. Had 62 points before the game was abandoned. It was basically a midfield anchor for him. They're missing a couple of superstars that have been traded off, as in Oliver and Petrarca. And much like last week, he stood up and he just fitted that role perfect. I think he's enjoying the new team. Trent Rivers actually scored 56 points in just 38% game time. But yeah, from that perspective, also Sam Banks was probably one of the best for Richmond. Had 50 ranking points in 42% of the game time. Jaden Short had 79 points, and that was by the time the game was abandoned. Sam Grill looked good as well. He had 39 points. And Sam Cumming, their other early draftee, was withdrawn early after suffering a shoulder injury. So we hope he's all right. He's a tough nut. So if he's moving off that ground with shoulder injury, he's going to be sore. So From the aspect, I actually thought, yeah, Melbourne were the better team. I still think Richmond played better than they did the week before. I think they look better when they have Tom Lynch down in that forward line and Harry Armstrong, the two tall targets to kick to. And, Rioli, Mansfield, and a few other the crumbing forwards around the bottom of the feet of the tall Richmond players. They work so much better when they have that tall target to work with. So from that aspect, they look really good. From Melbourne's aspects, CJ had 15 touches and found plenty of the ball across the half back. Looked quite good. Latrell Pickett wasn't as damaging as the week before. Also, Tom McDonald demonstrated he had a nice leak. But, yeah, the D's picked up on the inexperienced players. Toby Nankervis had 15 and an odd occasional opted to spike the ball forward out of congestion. Just make, the midfield struggled a bit from that aspect, so he needed to work the ball forward. Sam Lawler's clearance work was excellent. He was good in the midfield, arguably his best midfielder that stood up for him. Jaden Short off the half back, 20 disposals, just a really good performance by him. Max Gorn back in the ruck looked pretty good. 21 hitouts to obviously Toby Nankervis 15, as I mentioned. So yeah, one by Max Gorn. Went up forward, kicked a few. I think he kicked a goal. Just worked hard, ran his opponents down there. And he's getting used to the new ruck change. He's doing well, so we'll see how he goes against other ruckmans. But Jacob Van Rooyen was arguably the best tall forward, kicking 3 in the first half and looking particularly mobile across the ground. Sorry, I got that word wrong. He worked well with the quick ball use from the Melbourne Football Club. So the Melbourne Football team used quick ball use and made his game a lot easier to work with. That quick ball use as a tall forward, he's ran at it and he's hit the packs. He's brought it either down the ground or clunked the mark. He kicked 3. And he's looking good. He's that perfect size forward. Key tool for the Melbourne Football Club. And I think that's pretty good, folks. I think we covered them all. Yeah, we've covered injuries. I think we'll go with that. So off to the next game, folks. And we got the Bulldogs versus Hawthorn. An interesting game. We'll get to the scoreline. So the score ended up finishing with the Bulldogs 18 goals, 9, 117 to Hawthorn 11 goals, 7, 73. So the Bulldogs ran it out. They also ran Hawthorn off their legs. It seemed to me the Hawthorn just looked slow. They were a bit tired. They weren't working hard enough. Their midfield wasn't working hard enough. It was a lot on Jaya to do. They needed Nash and other midfielders stepping up. We'll talk about the goals. Croft kicked 3 for the Dogs. Jones 3, Sanders 2, Liberatore 2, English 2, Baker 2, Norton 2, Davidson, Fraser, single goals apiece. Hawthorn, Gunston kicked 3, Butler 2, Watson 2, Ginnivan, Lewis, Connor McDonald, Mackenzie, all single goals apiece. Western Bulldogs' best players, they thought from their perspective, English in the ruck, he dominated Lloyd Meat. He worked hard and ran hard. They were swapping different players off him at each time. Chol couldn't keep up with him either. Sanders was good. Karmas, so Buka Karmas. Bontempelli, Liberatore and Norton. Hawthorn's best, Newcombe, Gunston, McDonald, Impey and Ward. So from a fantasy points aspect, Tim English 131, Liberatore 115, Matt Kennedy 112, Bontempelli 102, Impey 101. So Impey was running off that half back. he tried all day. I thought he's one that really gave it a good crack. But yeah, the Dogs had a few players that don't normally get a gig as well, and they've obviously moved over to the club too. Some new faces. So Dog defender Michael Selwood was primed for early opportunity in defence, and he was selected ahead of the former number 13 Jed Buslinger, and also appeared in the VFL match earlier. Jordan Croft actually did very well. Obviously, with Sam Darcy needing to return in that lineup, I thought, yeah, he's a couple of new faces for him. They found Selwood, who played good down defence. So yeah, he shone. Riley Sanders was good. Young Bulldog Lockie Jacks, found himself in the defence at times, doing kick-ins and demanding the footy in transition, running really well. Lewis Emmett obviously shouldered the ruckload last week and didn't have to do that this week with Tim English. Connor Butterick crossed half back for the Doggies, so yeah, played on Nick Watson for most of the game. Watson kicked too, but had a few touches, looked lively up forward. Also, Hawthorn gave Noah Mraz an opportunity. Look, Tom Barras is going to come back in that lineup. He's going to take his spot. But Mraz, at times, he did lose Norton in the contest, but at this early on, Norton kicked a goal. But outside of that, I thought he did better as the game got on. And I thought, he's been thrown into a key defensive position. And he did all right. I don't think he was the worst for Hawthorn. I think other players throughout that middle, obviously Lloyd Meek, struggled. They didn't play Reeves in the ruck either, so they didn't opt to play him. They just played Meek, so maybe they might take someone out to play both of them. I think Reeves definitely would have, maybe he's pushed his spot to be the number one ruckman now. It was an interesting performance. Sam Davidson played good. Riley West was a good small for them, along with Oscar Baker. Artie Jones actually was really good. He finished with 3 goals. I thought his crumbing and his aspect around the ground was really good, and he's going to be one of those players. I feel. Yeah, he's. Well, I actually thought from a perspective he was one of the Bulldogs' best players too. I wouldn't say he would have been in the top 5. Let's just double check if he was in there or not. I did mention it, just can't quite. Yeah, interesting that he was a name. I thought he played really good. Buka Karmas as well, playing like a centre-half back position, played a lot better with Rory Lobb coming into that side. Didn't have to rely so much just being on that main tool. So it made his game a lot better. He did a bit more intercepting when the Hawthorn Football Club moved the ball into their forward line. I felt like he just was a good interceptor from that aspect and made it hard for Hawthorn to kick there. And, Lewis, obviously had Mitchell Lewis did play okay. He was a bit quiet, but he was playing on Rory Lobb. And just, every time they'd kick into that space, it did look like Hawthorn struggled on that oval. It was a different oval. Probably haven't played at Whitten Oval a real lot. And it's quite a small oval. Aiden Schubert also had a run. But yeah, set up a goal in the final term. But yeah, he looked okay out of some of the young players. Matt Hill also played in the final quarter. Did well, quick little speed, like for the time he got. Didn't do a real lot, but didn't do that bad either. So what he did do, he tried, I thought. And maybe should have gave him a bit more game time earlier to have an impact, I thought. Cho at times struggled, as I mentioned, with the pace of the game, along with plenty of other players too, like Cam McKenzie. Ward didn't have the impact he had the week before. Still played okay. Didn't think he played horrible. McKenzie struggled though. I feel like you can't. It's going to be between one of those two players. Nash needed to perform after last week playing pretty well. They just looked a little bit slow in the midfield. They need to get that hot ball back and start playing quite good. So let me just double check through. Yeah, so Sanders' concussion is going to be looked at. McKenzie also head knock, so same sort of thing. They are the only injury perspectives for both sides, so there's nothing really to worry about there. Croft spent some time getting in the main break, getting his hips and quads attended to, but finished the match without any issues. So just clarify that. Marcus Bontempelli also kicked a few goals. So he looked. So Captain Marcus Belly shook off some early nerves, early kicks at goal to have a significant impact around the ground and contest, and the Dogs transition into attack. So he was a hard matchup to play on. Yeah, Riley West was pretty good. Pretty happy with them. But yeah, as I mentioned, Jai Newcomb carried much of the load alongside Connor Nash, while the likes of Josh Ward, Connor McDonald, Cam McKenzie, Dylan Moore and Josh Weddle featured heavily throughout the middle. So yeah, Josh Weddle sort of still went down back as well. Took a few good intercepting marks. Sicily looks still a little bit underdone, I thought. So yeah, some of their players just looked a little bit underdone. Jack Ginnivan for his first game of the season, he ran through the midfield a little bit as well, but up forward, playing with a glove to protect his hand. Yeah, look, they struggled. It was a muggy night on Whitton's Oval. They probably haven't played much, and it was Bulldogs' home ground, and the Bulldogs come in with a few extra faces in the lineup compared to last week and played a lot better. So it's an interesting lineup. Darcy obviously has to come on back. Gunston had a really good performance, kicked 3. Cal Shadir didn't play, but probably will come back in that lineup. Mitchell Lewis and Marby Ochol both struggled, so it's going to be interesting. One of the tools are going to have to go to bring back Reeves, I feel, or they're going to just maybe take a short out that doesn't perform. I'm not too sure, but yeah, defensively the Bulldogs were really good, but their inside midfielders like Tom Liberatore, Matt Kennedy, all performed through the centre really well. So they got that inside ball and they just worked hard. So yeah, shout out to all these teams that played this week. I think that covers Hawthorn and Bulldogs very well. Just thinking of any players, I think, yeah, maybe the Hawks got to find somehow to add in a player into that midfielder. I feel like McKenzie may get dropped and bring in another player, or they're going to bring in Reeves and have another tool. Just those little questions from the Bulldogs aspect. Sam Darcy will be back in that lineup, no doubt, and he's going to have a monster season this year. So let's see how it goes. That's not much more I can add into that. There's just absolutely, just a performance by the Bulldogs. Yeah, it's pre-season. I wouldn't get too worried, Hawks fans. They're going to get fitter as the time goes on. They need to get run into their legs. They're going to start off like that. It's pre-season. They're trying things. And look, both teams lose one and win one, and they go into the opening round with no sort of injuries from the games, and that's probably the most important thing going into this time of the year. That covers part 1, folks. Part 2 is about to start soon. Get to do my team. We're going to do everyone else as well that hasn't played. So yeah, like and subscribe, folks. Cheers.